Hello there, my name is Jonathan Page. I am a business attorney and founder of In Prime Legal. We are talking about how to attract top talent. This is the second in a series of blogs and videos about the subject matter. Again, our clients have told us that the number one issue facing their business today is getting enough top talent to work for their organization. So previously we talked about some specific concepts of what top talent looks like. We spoke about Mark Miller. He's the Vice President of High Performance Leadership at Chick-fil-A. He did a bunch of quantitative research and realized that top talent, as opposed to typical talent, are looking for a better boss, a brighter future, a bigger vision, that you've got to really be thinking about building this into your organization. You don't want to go out there and promise top talent that you've got a better boss, a bigger vision, and a brighter future, and then they show up to your doorstep, they start working for you, and it turns out that you don't. So you got to look in the mirror and make sure that those ingredients are present. Once you've got those ingredients present, then it's about amplifying that in the marketplace of talent, making people aware that your company exists and that you provide these things. And then we spoke generally about a recruitment plan, looking at the difference between sourcing talent, to screening talent, to onboarding talent, then to retaining talent. So what we're going to discuss today specifically is benchmarking the rock star. So again, we've spoken about what the rock star, what attracts a rock star, what attracts top talent to your organization, but kind of a threshold question is, what does a rock star look like in your organization? What are the characterizations or characteristics of a rock star in your company? What do they look like? And that's what we're going to talk about today, because once you can nail down what a rock star looks like, what their characteristics look like, then it's going to help you start building out your recruitment plan. And your recruitment plan might be different for different job positions. How you recruit a cook, for example, may be very different than how you recruit a waiter or waitress. And understanding who you're looking for is going to help you do that. So when we look at a rock star, the portrait of a rock star, we came up with a formula. And the formula is here. So T, if you can guess, stands for trust. Now Simon Sinek talks about this in Leaders Eat Last, that trustworthiness is one of the most essential ingredients of a key employee, of somebody who is going to go with you on your journey and help you achieve your vision. And trust is all about helping other people. It's this sense that you have inside you that makes you want to open the door for somebody. It's those little acts of kindness. The more compassionate you are, the more empathetic you are, the more that you show these types of characterizations, that you have other people's best interest in mind, the more that people are going to realize that you're trustworthy. And trustworthy is something that's done in practice. It also involves integrity. It's always doing what you say you're going to do. It's always being honest. So understanding what trust looks like within your organization is going to be key. So for example, having a waiter or waitress, if you're a restaurateur, your waiter and waitress, if you think about your rock star, they're likely somebody who is always filling up that empty glass, who's always thinking about that other employee, who's always reaching out and saying, hey, can I give them a ride home? I know that their car's broken down. Or who's always thinking about that customer who maybe dropped something or had a bad experience and is figuring out what they can do to make them better. And you've seen this person in your organization, you think, man, that person's a rock star. And I bet it's also somebody you know you can trust. Because if they're always thinking about other people and putting other people's best interest in mind, then they're going to have that trustworthy quality. So trust is a key element. Now, some of the basic ingredients of even just having an employee, even typical talent, are going to be the next three that we're going to talk about. First is the employee has to have the ability to do the job. The ability refers to the core job functions required to do the job. Now, if you read anything by Jim Collins or Simon Sinek or Vern Harnish with Scaling Up, they're going to tell you kind of uniformly that experience and education are the least on the list. Experience is something that can be gained at your organization. And education, I mean, sometimes there's a requirement that, for example, with an attorney, you've got to have a JD, or there may be a certain license that you need that requires certain educational courses, but generally education and experience are on the bottom of the list. So when you're looking at ability, you should be thinking about the core aptitudes. What are things that an employee must have? For example, we hire a lot of paralegals here. And our paralegals are creating first drafts of contracts and deal documents. Well, attention to detail is a core aptitude. And there's some people who just don't have attention to detail, and they really aren't going to have the ability to do a paralegal job. So thinking through what those core aptitudes are, and then thinking about any sort of specialized training that the employee might need in order to do the job. You know, for example, with us, when we hire paralegals, we typically want to have paralegals who have handled legal documents in the past. Even though we do corporate law, having somebody who's worked in a wills and a trust law office as a paralegal would be a good fit for us because they've handled wills, they've handled legal documents before, which lets us know that they have the ability to do that sort of thing. So thinking through what sort of specialized knowledge, and then you can get to experience and education. But what are the core job functions you're looking for, and what ability does the employee need to have in order to successfully complete those core job functions? So next is willingness. Willingness has more to do with whether the employee shares your core values. Because just because somebody has the ability to do the job doesn't mean that they're willing to do the job. And especially if you find out that that employee doesn't really align with the values of your company, their willingness to do it is going to go down. They're just not going to be that motivated to help you out. It also has to do with cultural fit, because your culture really is your core values alive. It's people living out those core values. And so making sure that they are aligned with your culture. So, you know, for example, at our office, we're a dog-friendly office. We've got 2 dogs in the office. And our clients love this, our employees love this, it brings us a lot of joy. If we had somebody who didn't like animals and didn't want to be around animals, that would be a problem. They wouldn't really be a cultural fit for us. And my guess is even if they had the ability to do the job, that over time they probably would get less and less willing to do the job, and they wouldn't be a good fit. So making sure that they're willing to do the job is going to be key as well. And then thirdly is making sure that they're empowered. Now, empowerment has more to do with the company, with your business, than it does with the employee. So we've seen this a lot. Companies will hire people to fill a position. That person has the ability, they're willing to do the job, but the company really just hasn't provided them good tools to do the job. They'll give them a really slow computer when part of what they're doing is designing, and they need a faster computer. But you haven't given them good tools, so they're constantly frustrated. Even though they're willing and they have the ability, they haven't been properly empowered. But empowerment goes further than just giving them the right equipment. It also has to do with mentorship and coaching. We have a buddy system here at our firm for paralegals. So when a paralegal gets hired, we assign them to an attorney buddy. Even though they're going to get jobs from multiple attorneys, they've got one attorney that's kind of their attorney buddy that they can go to for any reason at all, even if it's with help on a project that they've been given by another attorney. And that attorney really goes out of their way to establish kind of a mentorship relationship, a rapport, so that they can make sure that they feel comfortable asking them anything and everything about the job. And we've heard many other companies, our clients, who have created these buddy systems, and they've been wildly successful. So empowerment is going to be key, setting the employee up for success. So this is just the basics, right? Even for typical talent, in order for them not to be a bad hire, they're going to have the ability to do the job, the willingness to do the job, and be empowered. But it's this trust, because again, you can have an employee that has all of these things, but then embezzles from you, right? We had a client who is a restaurateur, and they had a general manager that embezzled over like 6 months, and they were finally caught, and they felt like he was a rock star. But if they had paid close enough attention, they'd probably noticed many different instances where he was not trustworthy. So to get a rock star, not only do you need these, but you need trust, and then you need empathy. And empathy is being able to put yourself in the shoes of another. It's to be able to understand somebody's situation from their perspective. It's feeling for them, or feeling with them and not for them. Feeling for them is more sympathy, but feeling with them is more empathy. And empathy is really critical. If the employee is going to be client-facing, you're going to want them to be empathetic with the employee, because they're going to be more adapt at helping implement the solution that your business provides for the employee. But whoever you hire, whether they're client facing or not, they're going to be working in a team. Again, as we talked about in the first video, in order to achieve anything great in your company, it's going to take a high performance team that you surround yourself with. You're not going to be able to do it alone. And so every employee you hire is going to be working on your team, which means they're going to have to work with other people. They're going to have to share job responsibilities. They're going to have to work together. They're going to have to collaborate. And so having empathy for your other team members is going to be key, because if you don't have empathy, if you're just out for yourself, you're just thinking about yourself and you can't put yourself in the shoes of your other team members, then you're not going to be able to work effectively as a team. So empathy is key. And finally, this is value. Just drop my pin pal. So when you've got these ingredients, you've got trust, you've got the ability, the willingness, and the employees empowered, and they've got empathy, then they're going to provide value to your organization. So once you know kind of how to benchmark a rock star, then you can go through the process of figuring out what each of these look like for your employee. And a key tip when you're doing this is to focus on behaviors. Don't focus on, I mentioned attention to detail, but what behavior would give you and it would let you know that the person has that attention to detail. For example, attention to detail for a paralegal, the behavior we're looking for is somebody who is always noticing grammar mistakes. And there's people out there, no matter where they are, if they see a sign on the street, somehow they always notice those grammar mistakes. Well, that's somebody who's got an attention to detail, but we've figured it out by looking at a behavior. So identifying the behaviors for the job position you're looking for or you're hiring for with each one of these is where you're going to build out kind of your ideal candidate profile. So what we've provided you at the end of this video, if you look underneath, there's a link to resources. And one of the resources that we provide is an ideal candidate profile. It's got this sort of broken out, and it asks several questions and asks you to list, and it allows you to kind of fill it out. There's a sample there that we've done for paralegals that you can look at, and you can kind of start the process of benchmarking your rock stars and paying attention to behaviors, not just listing characteristics, but the actual behaviors that you would be looking for in a candidate before you hire them to know that they meet this ideal candidate profile. And this is going to help you with recruiting, because now you're going to know, and sourcing, because now you're going to know who you're trying to source, screening, because once you get your pipeline full, and you will get some folks in there that aren't the best of hires, it'll let you weed out the ones that exhibit these behaviors and keep in the ones that do. And then once you onboard and you start training them and empowering them, you can always be constantly evaluating these things and helping people improve in these different areas. If they're showing a lack of ability, you can better identify that and help them improve. If they're exhibiting a lack of willingness, you can dig deeper and figure out why they're not as willing. Maybe they've got a manager that hasn't really been getting them in touch with those core values. So this whole process of benchmarking your rock star, your top talent, is really critical as kind of a threshold position as you build out your recruitment program. If you look at the bottom of this video, you can see links to our website and resources, as well as other written materials about this subject. Until next time, Jonathan Page.